Red Bull were a sure bet for a great haul of points at the season opening race in Bahrain. But with just 5 laps from the finish line, it all started to become a bit of a nightmare, with Max Verstappen and teammate Sergio Perez both retiring. So, what was the failure on both cars that caused the retirement? And how will it impact Red Bull for the remainder of the season? Before we get into the details, as always, please consider liking and subscribing, especially if you love F1 as much as we do. Red Bull looked the strongest team in testing and qualifying. Max Verstappen seemed the driver to beat, but with Ferrari appearing to have a slight advantage in pace, especially Leclerc, it was unthinkable that Red Bull would end the day with not a single point for the team. Verstappen looked to be on track to finish second behind Charles Leclerc of Ferrari, while Sergio Perez held 4th place ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Verstappen suddenly started to lose power and just about made it back to the pit lane, the issue which Verstappen thought was battery-related. On the final lap, the disaster also struck Perez at turn 1, causing him to spin. The double retirement for Red Bull has cost them 30 points in total towards the constructors, but more importantly, a DNF for Verstappen is not good for his title defense. While handing Ferrari a 1-2 and giving rivals Mercedes more points than it appears possible at the start of the race, Christian Horner confessed that the double DNF for the team was a nightmare start to the new season. He said, "I can't remember the last time that happened to us, but it's obviously your worst nightmare. It's hugely disappointing not only to lose a podium in Max, but then on the last lap lose a podium with a Checo as well," said Horner. And he's done the hard work into turn 1. He held off Lewis. Horner suspects that the same failure affected both cars, and that it was an issue with the fuel pump, which meant that the pump starved the engine of fuel in the closing laps, with effectively both cars running out of fuel. But Horner added what looked like a decent haul of points suddenly evaporated, obviously in the last couple of laps. It looks like a similar issue on both cars, and we don't know exactly what it is yet. Whether it's a lift pump or a collector or something along those lines, but we've got to get into it and understand exactly what caused it. Horner went on to say 0 points for us is tough. The positive we can take is we've had a competitive car. We are fighting for the race win at different points in the race. We've got to get on top of these issues quickly, and it's a long season, 23 races. But we've got to get this behind us and get stuck into the next event. Verstappen had fought hard to get the win at the season opener. It appeared he had settled for second position behind Charles Leclerc when he started to report about first steering problems and then power unit issue. Carlos Sainz almost overtook Verstappen at the restart and eventually did when the RB18 started to slow due to the lack of power, which eventually retired the car. Verstappen said, "We don't fully understand why it happened, but it definitely happened after tires came on and I drove off," he told Sky Sports. "It was not even that the steering wheel got heavy, it was just impossible to steer. The faster I was going, it almost felt like a delay, so I was steering right and it took a while before something was happening. That's why my restart was bad, because I wanted to go on the throttle, but I couldn't open a wheel because it was stuck." He then added, "Very hard out there. A lot of different issues we have to deal with, and this is not what you want in the first race weekend." He said, "You can always say the problems can happen and you might have a retirement, but I think at this level, after having so much information on the engines and stuff, it shouldn't happen." While Verstappen is aware that there is still time to make amends this season, he was ultimately left regretting the squandered points for Red Bull. "We didn't really show what we could really do for whatever reason," Verstappen said. "There is potential for sure, otherwise you are not up there. But we already lost a lot of points in one race weekend, so that's really not good. Of course, I know with one retirement it's not over, but I would have preferred to have at least 18 points." Helmut Marko has spoken about the bitter Grand Prix in Bahrain, which saw the Red Bull team retire both Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez due to late technical issues. Marko hinted that the issue was from an outside-sourced part that was to blame. Speaking to the media, he said, "This is bitter. We had hoped to win, but in the race, we couldn't keep up with Ferrari's pace. They were faster in Sector 2, but we also lost out on the straights to them. Verstappen was also suffering badly with brake issues, which Helmut Marko explained required constant management throughout the race. We also had brake problems, which forced us to slow ourselves, he said. Then we underestimated the undercut. If Max had driven a normal outlap, he would have been in front of Leclerc. If you are ahead, the world suddenly looks very different. Even if Verstappen had taken the lead, the race would have ended in disappointment because of the as of yet unverified technical issue that forced the defending world champion out. The worst part is, of course, the double failure of both cars. At the end, there was something with the fuel supply. But what went wrong? We don't know, Marko continued. The real concern for Red Bull now is, can they be reliable enough to compete for a championship over a 23-race calendar? The weekend's Grand Prix is at the Jeddah Corniche circuit in Saudi Arabia, giving Red Bull a short time frame to find, fix and remedy the issue. With Ferrari looking very fast for the first time in years and both Leclerc and Sainz performing at their best, Red Bull will have to address reliability issues quickly if they are to compete with the Scuderia. Thank you for watching, and if you liked the video, please consider liking and subscribing. And don't forget to click the bell icon to be notified of our future videos. Also, please leave your thoughts in the comment section below. So, what are your thoughts on Red Bull's retirement? What is an outside part that caused the issue? Or was it an oversight from Red Bull? We'd love to know your thoughts.